Amid the turmoil in Gaza, the fragile ceasefire, and the severe destruction and humanitarian crisis, Egypt has proposed a plan to rebuild Gaza, provide a next-day plan, and ensure a lasting peace at the extraordinary Arab summit held in Cairo. While the US and Israel has proposed displacement schemes, Egypt's plan remains rooted in the principles of justice and Palestinian self-determination. How will this Egyptian plan secure the international backing it needs? How will it affect Gaza's future governance? And can it pave the way for a meaningful, lasting peace? These questions will be asked here on the show. Welcome to In Depth. Al-Ahram Online reports that the extraordinary Arab summit held in Cairo has strongly rejected the displacement of Palestinians from Gaza or the West Bank, reaffirming support for Egypt's Gaza reconstruction plan. In their final summit declaration, Arab leaders reiterated their commitment to a just and comprehensive peace and condemned Israel's ongoing rejections of peaceful solutions. The declaration condemned Israeli policies, including forced displacement, settlement expansion, and the blockade of humanitarian aid to Gaza. The newspaper added that Arab leaders expressed full support for Egypt's reconstruction efforts in Gaza and urged international institutions to provide the necessary financial aid. The summit also welcomed the creation of a transitional Palestinian administrative committee in Gaza aimed at facilitating national unity and called for international peacekeeping forces in Gaza and the West Bank to ensure security. Arab leaders also urged the UN Security Council to deploy international peacekeeping forces to maintain security in Gaza and the West Bank, an essential step towards establishing a Palestinian state. To help us analyze the extraordinary meeting that took place yesterday, we're joined from occupied Jerusalem by Dr. Abdel Nasser Mekki, political science professor, and Ratiba Natcha, member of the Palestinian National Committee. Thank you both for joining us here on In Depth. Firstly, Dr. Mekki, can we start with you and ask, the Egyptian plan presented at the Arab Summit includes a vision for Gaza's reconstruction. Plan as viable, or is there an alternative to the proposed displacement scheme in Gaza? Will other members or international, players add a new plan?
I think this plan is, that's come to response for the Trump plan, because the American, they said that this is the Trump plan was the only plan for reconstruction Gaza without their people there. But the Arab that's leaders, and especially the Egyptian government, they said that they will have a plan, and they prepare for this plan in order that they will presented this plan and they submit, and they worked in this plan for weeks in order that they will be response to the Trump plan. And yes, I think the Egyptian plan was response, and also there will be many of the international community and states, they will, that supported this plan, because it's focusing on the right of the people in Gaza to stay in their land, and also at the same time there will be reconstruction for Gaza without any displacement of the people in Gaza. So I think in the long term, this plan will support the Palestinian for staying in their land without displacement, according to the Israeli and also to the American plan. And also the Arab summit, they supporting and give a stronger that's remarks to the American and to the Israeli that there will be the plan from the Arab summit and from the Arab, that states
Yes.
to support the Palestinian.
Yes, Ms. Nasra, with Gaza facing unprecedented levels of violence and suffering, what do you think the international community's role should be when it comes to holding the Israelis accountable, especially given that, the Israelis have decided to unilaterally block from Gaza and not move on to the second phase of the ceasefire negotiations?
Israel is taking an approach of turning its back before the international community, not respecting any convention, not only in the size of the Palestine or the ceasefire in Gaza, or delivering the aid and during the military attacks. And I cannot even mention what's happening in the West Bank is in a unilateral war by Israel alone, and trying to eliminate them, and it is unbelievable. But the international community is still taking slow steps in acknowledging what's happening in the Palestinian territories as a war crimes, and taken determined before Israel. The international community still gives the chance to Israeli and putting both sides on the same level of responsibility of what's happening in the Gaza Strip, and ignoring that the Palestinian people been under the siege for a long time. Israel is using the arm of weaponize the hunger, that is, which is in a war crime. It is using the hunger system is in a war crime, but the international community is only just saying condemnation statement in the state of taking pressure steps upon Israel to make it respecting the international
Yes.
international law and the delivery of the humanitarian aid.
Okay, Dr. Mickey, I'm not sure if you caught what Ms. Nacha said. She spoke about the idea that there is also obviously issues when it comes to the West Bank, and Israeli aggression there continues on. This may not be the focus of the international community in general, but this is also an issue. Dr. Mickey, the plans involve, or the meetings that took place yesterday also involve the idea of Palestinian self-determination, where they can establish a Palestinian state both in Gaza and the West Bank. And they doubled down on the idea of a two-state solution. How significant do you believe this is in ensuring the legitimacy of the Palestinian sovereignty when it comes to international forums? And how receptive will the international community be towards this idea? Because there has been a lot of pushback when it comes to self-determination to Palestinians.
Yes, I think for the self-determination Palestinian, as you know, it was even from 1967 when they started many of the scenarios about this, that idea for the Palestinian self-determination and the two-state solution. And after that, to the initiative of the Arab League in that time when they said about the self-determination for the Palestinian and also for their right to have their Jerusalem, this Jerusalem capital as for their state, and also to live with peace with the Israeli neighboring beside the Palestinian state. All these things have been, that presented before, and many of the initiatives were there. But that's for the Arab Summit and yesterday, I think they supporting and also they encouraging for this idea. Also, they are commitment in order that the Palestinians should have their right for their state and also for the East Jerusalem to be as their capital, and also in the same time to have the one unity government between Gaza and between West Bank. And this is one thing was positive yesterday, as West Bank and Gaza to be as one unity under the umbrella of the Palestinian National Authority, and after that to reach to the Palestinian state. I think also all the international community, they are supporting this idea from the beginning. All the European Union, Japan, China, Russia, all of these, that state, they are supporting the Palestinian state, and also at the same time to be beside the Israeli state. So I think the Arab Summit yesterday was obvious in that's saying about this idea and affirming that the Palestinians should have their right for the self-determination and the two-state solution.
Okay, Mr. Netcha, the plan also proposes temporary housing for over 1.5 million displaced people in Gaza during the reconstruction process. How can this be implemented given the extent of the destruction caused by the Israeli aggression in the Strip itself? And how long do you think it will take to get into these homes or these portable homes inside the Gaza Strip?
In case that the plan being executed, the recovery of 6 months by entering the mobile homes as well as the temporary hospitals and schools, that will assist to gain the normalcy of the Gaza Strip, as given the fact that the size of the destruction of 80% of the infrastructure in the Gaza Strip, and it is the situation is catastrophic, and it is designated that it is unlivable. But not only during the war, but years ago, as the United Nations announced that the Gaza Strip has become a very dangerous place for life, and due to the Israeli besiege that lasted for 17 years, due to the pollutions and the remain of the rightly plants by storing in all the waste in the sea. That all these features that gave the lives impossible. But now we are talking about two difficult choices. The first one is displacing the residents of the Gaza Strip and the execution of Trump's plan without having the Palestinian people inside. And the second choice is as the Palestinian wishes to stay in the Gaza Strip despite the difficulties, in order to enable them to revive the life and the economic medical trades and trades in Gaza. The destruction is huge, but the ability of survivor and staying in the Gaza Strip is very large. We've witnessed throughout the past 5 wars and throughout more than 17 years of blockades by Israel. And I think that the policy of executing the early recovery plan of 6 months by entering the caravans is a realistic one vis-a-vis what is proposed by Israel. But it requires an international community pressure to enter all the machineries and the caravans as soon as possible upon the deal that Israel is already signed to enter the machinery during the second phase of the ceasefire deal.
Okay, Dr. Mickey, now you heard Mr. Nacha talking about the idea of the reconstruction plan and moving in mobile homes into the Gaza Strip and how this is going to be a difficult situation in general, but it's better than displacement. But given the Israeli actions that are taking place right now, how feasible is it that we're going to move on to the reconstruction phase if they continue on to blockade the humanitarian aid and, avoiding moving on to the second phase and attempting in every way to avoid a permanent ceasefire?
I think, yes, that's important point here is that when the Israeli is not allowing or avoiding that the assistance to go enter Gaza, this is a problem. And because of this, I think this will like obstacles for the going ahead with the reconstruction of Gaza and also for anything should be in Gaza because the Israeli, they now wanted to enter any that's assistance aid and also all the mobile houses or the tents, or even now they are threatening to that's to cut the water and electricity and also all the medical equipment and also all these things that should related to the life of the people in Gaza. So this is all the tools that are using by the Israeli will be one of the challenge and the obstacles that will be a problem for continuation or going to the reconstruction of Gaza. And I think in order that we could ahead with this, there should be pressure on Israeli government in order to allow and also at the same time to continuation of the first stage, which is obviously was focusing on entering all these equipments and even that's opening all the borders here because the Israeli closed all the border and they preventing the Palestinians to receive all these assistance aids. So I think if it is not going ahead with this, there will be a problem and we couldn't make any that signals of marks of going to reconstructions of Gaza.
Okay, Mr. Nacha, the proposal includes a call by the for the international community or international conference in Cairo to mobilize support for reconstruction, a donor conference basically. What will be the key challenges when it comes to this conference and how might it garner widespread support when it comes to the reconstruction efforts? How could they overcome the possible hurdles that will stop this donor conference?
Certainly, there are main obstacles before such a conference. The first one is related to the fundraising of the reconstruction of Gaza Strip. We're talking about a plan of more than $50 billion cost, and it would require collaboration to the international community in order this process of reconstruction. And the other thing is the political support and to get approval, or particularly that will get a refusal by Israel directly, and will be some sort of provocations by Israel against this plan of reconstruction, particularly the Israeli allies, which is the United United States of America, and sees that any plan that is a rival of the Trump's plan to have a high level of proficiency.
So your belief, I apologize for cutting you off, but your belief is that the Israelis will oppose every possible effort to reconstruct Gaza.
The Israeli plan and the Israeli objective is the full control over the Gaza Strip. We've heard in Israeli media the comments of the that is a plan that has a very old-fashioned tools. According to their descriptions, it is the rely of the Palestinian Authority in administrating Gaza Strip and the relying of UNRWA in delivering the humanitarian aid. Both bodies, either the PLO or the Palestinian Authority and the UNRWA, are non-persona in the Gaza as Israel foresee. And Israel wishes that the reconstruction should be a way of the Palestinian contradict the Israelis' ambition and its desire in the presence of the Palestinian Authority, along with the UNRWA, in the plan of reconstruction, as well as the governance of Gaza in the future. Therefore, they will put obstacles before this solution and such a plan as considered unacceptable politically.
Okay, my final question here is for Dr. McKee. The plan also calls, when it comes to what the extraordinary meeting, they called for a non-partisan technocratic Gaza Administration Committee. How do you think Israel will receive this idea? Because the Israeli side has always been evasive when it comes to the Palestinians' self-determination, and there's always an excuse for why they shouldn't have self-determination.
For the committee, Palestinian committee or supporting committee, administrative committee, this has been proposed by the Egyptian before, and I think it's from the beginning. Regardless that maybe one of the Palestinian party refused it in the beginning, but after that on the submit, I think they accepted, and this committee should be under the umbrella of the Palestinian National Authority and with all the parties in Gaza to be participate in order to form and formulate all these, the committee.
I apologize, I have to cut you off there because we're out of time for this episode of In Depth, but thank you so much for joining us. That was Dr. Abdel Nasser al-Makki, political science professor, and Mr. Tiba Natsha, a member of the Palestinian National Action Committee. Thank you for joining us here. This brings us to the end of today's episode of In Depth. Thank you for joining us and thank you for watching. Stay updated here on Qnews.